Alright, hi. Matt Lambert, mastering Solidworks, Cybernex, Willie brand. Mastering Solidworks, Matt Lambert. Copyright 2019, John Willie Sons, Incorporated, Indianapolis, and Indiana, published simultaneously in Canada. Alright, contents. Part 1, Introduction to SolidWorks, Basic Introduction to SolidWorks. Installing SolidWorks for the first time, starting SolidWorks first time, examining SolidWorks license agreement, using help menu, creating a new document, identifying SolidWorks documents, saving your setup, using templates, understanding feature-based modeling, understanding history-based modeling, sketching parameters, understanding design intent, editing design intent, choosing sketch relations, selecting display to relate relations, using suppress sketch relations, working the associative, the bottom line. Chapter 2, navigating SolidWorks interface, identifying elements of the SolidWorks interface, using command manager toolbars, control menus, changing cursor, working with the models, pictorial manager, property manager, windows, getting around taskbar, getting familiar with the taskbar, using SolidWorks search, making interface work for you, customized colors, customized strategies, working with multiple document windows, the bottom line. Chapter 3, work with sketchers, reference geometry, creating a new part, creating a sketch, identifying sketch needs, using sketch toolbar, driving sketches with smart dimensions, using tool dimension relation toolbar, inferencing sketch, exploring sketch setting, using sketch block, working with reference geometry, creating planes, working the axes, using coordinate system, using points of reference geometry, sketching touch interface, tutorial, learning using sketch relation tutorial, using block belts, tutorial, creating reference and geometry, the bottom line. Chapter 4, creating simple parts and drawings, discovering design intent, using symmetry, determining primary functional features, predicting change, creating a simple part, deciding whether to start, building a symmetry, making it solid, using instant 3D, making first extruded feature, creating a simple assembly, creating the assembly, populating the assembly, examining the maze, creating the simple drawing, tutorial, creating a simple part, tutorial, making a simple drawing, the bottom line. Chapter 5, using visualization techniques, manipulating the view arrow keys, using middle mouse button, using mouse gestures, using view toolbar, adding scroll bars or splitters, using magnifying glass, clicking the triad axis, using view tools, zebra stripes and curvature, view orientation, notion views, using the display manager, applying appearance, using decals, using scene lights and cameras, display panning, applying color automatically and features, using edge display settings, tutorial, applying visualization techniques, the bottom line. Part 2, building intelligence into your parts. Chapter 6, getting more from your sketches. Editing sketch relation, use display deletion relations, using replace etny, using sketch expert. Getting more dimension, certain underline, sketching numerical input, work forwarding, sketch etnies, moving, rotating, copying, scaling etnies, modifying sketch, copying, pasting, sketch etnies, dragging etnies, creating a derived sketch, using sketch pictures, using 3 views. Compensating perspective, estimating sharp edge, using auto trace and using sticky fonts, using sketch text, using colors, line styles with sketches, working in color display mode, assigning line color, using edit sketch curve color tool, assigning line thickness and line style, using other sketch tools, working with rapid sketch, adding sensors, using metadata for sketches, creating construction geometry, sketching 3D. Navigate in space, exploring sketch relation 3D sketches, using planes in space, planing or path, segments, defining dimensions, using 3D sketch summary, tutorial, edit, copying, tutorial, controlling pictures, text, colors, and styles, tutorial, using metadata, tutorial, sketching, calculator, the bottom line. Chapter 7, modeling the primary features, identifying when to use the tool, using the extruded feature, understanding instant 3D, working revolving feature, introducing loft boundary sweep, controlling sweep features, understanding fillet types, creating constant size fillet, variable radius fillets, using face fillets, applying full round fillet, building a setback fillet, using chamfers, creating an asymmetrical chamfer, sketching between fillet and chamfer features, tutorial, bracket casting, the bottom line. Chapter 8, selecting secondary features, creating curve features, manipulating curves, working with helix curve features, creating projected curves, using curve through XYZ points features, using curve through reference point features, putting together a composite curve using split lines, using equation-driven curve, selecting a specialty feature using scale, dome feature, wrap feature, flex feature, deform, applying the deform feature, using independent feature, and using intersect. Tutorial creating wireform part, the bottom line. Chapter 9, Pattern Mirroring. Pattern in Sketch, debunking more sketch myths. Pattern sketch, mirrors in a sketch, using mirror entities, dynamic mirrors, symmetric sketch relation, mirrors in 3D sketches, working with 3D patterns, exploring geometry pattern option, patterning bias, face, and fillet, understanding pattern part, using linear pattern, circular pattern, curve-driven pattern, sketch-driven pattern, table-driven pattern, fill pattern, variable pattern, cosmetic patterns, mirroring 3D solids, mirroring bodies, features, and entire parts. Tutorial creating a circular pattern. Tutorial mirroring features. Tutorial applying cosmetic pattern. Bottom line. Chapter 10, using equation. Understanding equations, creating equations, using driven dimensions, using equation tricks, using global variables, using the modify box, using expression, controlling suppression, states of features, using external equations. Tutorial using equation. Bottom line. Chapter 11, working with part configuration. Control items configuration, finding configuration, deleting figs, sorting configuration, activating configurations, creating configuration, using modified configuration dialog box, using custom property managers, use derived configurations, understanding how to file size, effects, speed, controlling dimensions, suppressions, custom properties, sketch relations, sketch planes, configurations, inserted parts. Using library features, using design tables, identifying what can be driven by a design table, create a simple design table, editing design table settings, editing design table, even configuration, publisher, tutorial, working with configuration design tables. The bottom line. Chapter 3, editing, evaluating, troubleshooting, using rollback, use rollback bar, rollback, other rollback techniques, using part reviewer, reorder features, reorder folders, using flyout, detachable feature managers, displaying feature manager, property manager, following selection, breadcrumbs, summarizing part model by best practices. Using design change, keeping track, reference, visualizing, horizontal modeling, understanding resilient modeling, using skeleton sketches, using evaluating techniques, using verification on rebuild, checking tool, evaluating geometry, reflective techniques, troubleshooting errors, interpreting rebuild errors, identifying common errors, dismissing errors, using Solidworks RX and performance benchmark, tutorial utilizing editing evaluation techniques. The bottom line. Part 3, working with assembly. Chapter 13, building efficient assemblies. Understanding of the purpose of the assembly, identifying the type of the assemblies, creating alternative multiple assemblies, identifying the elements of the assembly, working assembly equations using assembly layout sketch, working with the virtual components, comparing history-based, non-history-based portions, assembly of the tree, understanding parts and subassemblies, organizing mates, applying assemble feature, using components, parts, and mirror components, using speed pack, using ghosts, using airing self-contained data, using speed packs with drawings, using subassembly, creating subassembly, existing parts, organizing performance and organizing for bill of materials, grouping subassembly, relative motion, organizing group of the purchased components, depicting an assembly process pattern consideration, using folders, creating folders, and the feature manager, reordering items in the tree, working with the tree display options, showing feature of the names, the description, showing the component configuration, name, the description, using component reference per instance, viewing features, mates, and dependency, tutorial arranging assembly, tutorial managing feature manager, bottom line. Chapter 14, getting more for your mates. Applying mates, making through the mate property manager, taking advantage of smart mates, using component preview menu, using copy with mates, mating with the macros, mating with the motion for motion, analyzing degree of freedom, setting up the successful motion, using reference entities, working with advanced mechanical mate types, profile, center mate, symmetric mate, cam weight, width mate, gear mate, rack and pinion mate, limit mate, screw mate, path mate, linear coupler mate, hinge mate, belt and change, editing and troubleshooting, edit existing mate, troubleshooting assembly mates, troubleshooting warning errors, examining mate options, reviewing mate best practice, tutorial mate for success, and the bottom line. Chapter 15, pattern mirroring components, component patterns for the local component parts, generating local pattern references, using mirroring components, using feature-driven component patterns, creating a chain pattern, understanding the other pattern options, tutorial creating components and patterns, and the bottom line. Chapter 16, working with assembly, sketch, and layout. Looking at the techniques and using assembly layout, sketch using the master mold model, layout features using layout, workflow, file flow, working with the virtual components, balancing advantage, limitation, tool working with the layout in the bottom line. Chapter 17, using assembly tools, placing parts without mates, using the moving component options, using 4 positions only option, building parts in place, using proximity tools, interference detection, clearance, verification, dynamic clearance, collision detection, physical dynamic sensors, selecting components with a volume suppressed components, hitting component sub-assembly parts mated to another part, identical components, internal components, toolbox parts, using the advanced selected options, selecting by size, reading assembly performance evaluation results, using the feature, using the whole alignment tool of the bottom line. Chapter 18, using library assembly features and whole wizard. Using library features, getting started with the library features, applying library features to interface with exploring other design library functions. Creating library features, creating a library feature, creating a library feature with existing parts, adding folders to the library. Locating dimension, internal dimension, creating assembly cuts using feature scopes, propagating features for the part, making fillets and chamfers in assembly, using whole wizards, using whole series, creating weld beads, working in envelopes, understanding smart components, using smart components, getting started with a simple smart component, outsizing smart components, making smart components, getting started with a simple start component, creating an auto-size smart component, managing files with smart components, editing smart components, tutorial working with smart components, tutorial working with library features, the bottom line. Chapter 19, controlling assembly configurations. Display status. Using display status, controlling display status, configuration, display states of the limited drawing, use part of the display states and the parts. Understanding assembly configuration, applying configuration with a performance user configuration for the position, applying configuration product variation, using design table to assemble configurations, working with the modified configuration, publisher looking at the assembly configuration, do's and don'ts, tutorial working with the assembly configuration, the bottom line. Chapter 20, modeling context. Understand in-text modeling, working through simple in-context model. Example, work weighing advantage with the in-text context modeling, and anticipating problem with in-context modeling, and identifying alternative with in-context modeling. Dealing with practical details, in-text context modeling, understanding the in-context process, looking at in-context best practice, other types of external reference, working with split parts, using mirror parts, tutorial working in context, bottom line. Chapter 21. Editing and evaluating trouble assemblies, working with the mates, listing mates, over the listing mates, under the component, displaying mates instead of the features, working with the view mates tool, use view mate errors for window, view the mate, expert editing mates, editing file management issues, using saving options and pack and go, replacing components, forming, dissolving subassembly, using assembly, identifying performance evaluation tool, identifying feature manager symbols, using isolation function, using reload, the bottom line. Chapter 22, working a large-scale design, using a large design review, large design, updating a large design review, resolving components, taking snapshots, creating a walkthrough, creating a grid system, starting a grid system, feature sketching and creating a sketch, using grid system property manager, understanding grid system output, viewing grid components, transferring data for that with an IFC file type at the bottom line. Chapter 23, animation with the motion manager, familiarizing yourself with the motion manager, understanding the terminology, driving the animation, planning animation, identifying elements of the motion manager, using the display option, using motion manager interface formatting, output, using animation wizards, creating a rotation animation, creating exploded view animation and assembly, animation of the view, driving the views with the key points, use the pass and control cameras, animating with the key points, get started with the time bar with the key points, copying, mirroring, motion, adjusting speed, actions, outputting the animation, animating with the basic motion, using gravity and contact, using motors and springs, animating change and spring, using motors, using the mate controller, the bottom line. Part 4, creating drawings. Chapter 24, automating drawings, the basic comparing templates and formats, change existing templates, maintaining different templates or formats, creating custom drafting standards, creating drawing formats, customize existing format using custom properties with the title block function, creating a format with an imported DWG or DWX file, saving the form using the second sheet format, creating a drawing templates, use predefined views, drawing templates, use style blocks and templates, common custom properties with templates, saving template, creating blocks, bottom line. Chapter 25, working with drawing views, creating common view types, using the view palette, model views, using projected views, standard 3 view, detail view, working section views, creating other view types, crop view, broken out section view, break view, auxiliary view, alternate position view, predefined view, empty view, save view, converting drawing view with a sketch, saving the view in the DWGDX format using relative view, 3D drawing view mode, changing view orientation alignment using display option views, using display types, using display styles, working with a tangent edge display option, choosing view quality setting, distinguishing a view from the sheet tutorial, working with the view types and setting options to the bottom line. Chapter 26, using annotation symbols. Use notes, setting up the workflow, placing notes, utilizing fonts, using text block wrapping, placing notes and leaders, adding styles, using format painter, linking notes with the custom property hyperlink or link text, adding notes and symbols, using blocks and drawings, inserting blocks, creating blocks, editing blocks, using symbols and symbol the notes with the dimension, creating custom symbols, even the center marks, center lines, using a notation. Bottom line, Chapter 27, Dimension and Tolerance. Putting dimension on the drawing, insert with the model items, the reference, the dimension of the understanding, dimension options, adding tolerance, changing the precision values, geometric tolerance symbols, using dimension style, view the dimension annotation, using alignment tools, interferencing alignment and grid snap, use the dimension palette alignment option, using arranging dimension automatically tutorial, working with the dimension and tolerance. Bottom line. Chapter 28, using layers, line fonts, and colors, control layers, working with layers, imported 2D data, working with layers in sheet format, adding dimension and notes of the layers, working with the components of the layers, control line format, using line format settings, end cap style settings, line thickness settings, end line style settings, change the color display, hiding and showing edges, tutorial using drawing display tools at the bottom line. Chapter 29, working with tables and drawing, draw with the bill of material with examining SolidWorks, table to base, bill of material, retiring Excel, base, bill of material, using design tables, placing holes in tables on the drawing, revision table, general tables, working with tables and models, tutorials, using bill of materials, using whole tables, and tutorial revision table, the bottom line. Chapter 30, creating assembly drawing, combining parts and assembly, same drawing, dimension, assembly feature for the design with the document driven with the custom properties, using multiple page templates, using view special assembly function, using alternate position view, changing views, exploded assembly, creating section views, broken out section view, using color and assembly drawing views, setting up the drawing in the large assembly, the detached drawing, working lightweight drawing, using speed pack with the drawings, using draft quality views, tutorial, creating a simple assembly drawing. Bottom line. Part 5, using advanced special techniques. Chapter 31, modeling multiple bodies. Using powerful tool, effective comparable multiple body model, working assembly modeling, using multiple body techniques and appropriate, using understanding multiple body techniques, using simple method of creating multiple bodies, creating complex shapes of the cross bodies, cross bodies, using tool bodies, link operation, using local operation pattern, simplifying very complex part, bridging between solids, modeling undetermined manufacturing methods, applying the feature scope to the bodies, managing bodies with a split feature, adding bodies, using insert part feature, using intersecting modifying bodies, managing bodies, using body folder, hiding and showing bodies, deleting bodies, renaming bodies, tutorial, working with multiple bodies, merge, local operations, splitting and pattern bodies, the bottom line. Chapter 32, working with surfaces. Introduction, surface to understanding surface technology, exploring knit function, using trim function, using untrim function, hybrid modeling, understanding non-uniform rational B-splines, using developed surface ruled, surfaces defining Gaussian curvature, surface tool, using extrude, surface boundary, surface offset, surface radiate, surface net, surface thickening, surface planar, surface extend, surface trim, surface fill, surface mid surface, replace face, ruled surface, and intersect. Tutorial, working with surfaces cut out, using cut with the surfaces, using offset with the surfaces, using fill, surface blend. Bottom line. Chapter 33, employing master model techniques. Master model tool techniques, using pull function, understanding insert part features, understanding insert into new part features, using push function, word split features, working save bodies feature. Tutorial, working with master model techniques. And the bottom line. Chapter 34, using Solidworks sheet metal tools, using base flange features, using base flange tab feature, sheet metal feature, using flat patterns feature, edge pattern flange feature, miter flange feature, hem feature, jog feature, sketch bend feature, closed corner feature, corner relief feature, mirroring pattern sheet metal, forming tool feature, lofted bend features, unfold folded features, swept flange features, gosset features, tab and slot feature. Making sheet metal parts from generic models, normal cut feature, rip feature, sheet metal feature, flattening, bending feature, process, bend feature, no bend feature. Using flat pattern feature, converting to sheet metal feature, using other methods, working with imported geometry, making rolled cylindrical parts, mixing methods, using multi-body techniques, sheet metal, using insert part, using multiple base, flange, tutorial, working with insert bends methods with the sheet metal parts, tutorial using base, flange, sheet metal methods, bottom line. Chapter 35. Creating sheet metal drawings, making sheet metal drawings, getting the flat pattern, you understand flat pattern configuration, you bend lines and bend nodes, showing bounding box for flat pattern, showing bending areas of the part, making drawing multiple body sheet metal parts, displaying bodies of sheet metal drawing, using cut list in sheet metal part, managing cut list properties, placing cut lists on the drawing, saving a cut list template, bottom line. Chapter 36, creating weldment drawings, sketching 38, navigating 3D space, understanding sketch relation to 3D sketches, creating place and space, limiting path segments, using dimension 3D sketches, using weldment tools, using weldment feature, introducing structural member feature, using trim extended feature, using end cap feature, working with gosset feature, non-structural, using non-structural components, using sub-weldments, working with cut list, using cut list properties, excluding and reordering cut list items, using welded beams, fillet beads, and welded assemblies, creating weldment drawings, tutorial, working with weldments, bottom line. Chapter 37, using imported geometry, direct editing techniques, understanding the basic imported geometry of SolidWorks, interconnecting, gaining experience with import, handling import errors, converting point and cloud data, understanding traditional role of directing editing tools, understanding shrink limitations of the directing editing tools of SolidWorks, using SolidWorks direct editing tools, using move phase, combining direct editing with history, combining direct editing with imported geometry, tutorial import, repairing solid geometry, tutorial flex freeform, bottom line. Chapter 38, using plastic feature, using the mount boss, snap hook and snap hook groove, lip groove, the rib feature, draft, indent, working with shell, using vent feature, using plastic evaluation tools, using draft analysis, thick analysis, undercut analysis, understanding undercut analysis, workflows to the bottom line. Chapter 39, using molding tools, where the mold tool process, preparing plastic part mold tools, insert mold folders, parting lines, initiating shutoff surfaces, parting surfaces, tool splitting, using core feature, working manually with the mold tools, passing shutoff, creating non-planar parting surfaces of the bottom line. And then you have chapter A is all the bottom lines for chapter 39. Appendix B would be your finding help, SolidWorks web help, content search, SolidWorks web cards, graphic cards, customer portal. Appendix C, what's on the web, system requirements, SolidWorks version, troubleshooting, care, and index. Alright, introduction, SolidWorks, immense topic, especially with the new software, with a lot of the right about when I have made efforts to complete this book. I'm sure that there are some of the niche topics that have gone untreated. This edition, I rely on my video introduction with each of the chapters to demonstrate some of the basic concepts. Who should read this book? The book was primarily meant for the encyclopedia descriptive and the SolidWorks standard users who want more than understanding the software process that can be found in the other available documentation. As such, is not necessarily intended with a guide for the beginners, although this element is not necessarily intended with a classroom guide, but it could be used as well. This book will take into the area of the technical application where the training class does not go into the best practice where you find anywhere else. What you will learn to keep the size of the book down. I try to avoid the topics only SolidWorks professional and premium through, but some of the discussion of these topics is unavoidable at times. While the book does not point with limitation, bugs, or conceptual errors in software, in every case, it's meant to give the reader with a more thorough understanding of the software, how to be applied with the context every day with the design engineering practice. I believe that you do not know how much you can do until you find the boundary. I frequently push the past the limits of the software. The overall goal of the book is not to fill your head with the facts, but to help you think like software so you can use the tool and initiate the extension of your own process. As modeling projects go in complex, you will need to have more troubleshooting and workaround skills available to you, along with the best practice recommendation. There must be building reasons to study this book. This is not a book about machine design, industrial design, or not even engineering. This is a book about how to use SolidWorks as CAD design documentation tool. This is some assumption that you are familiar with general design engineering practice and terminology. Thank you for your interest. And then what you need, and then for SolidWorks for using troubleshooting, and mastering series. This is what this book covered. What is covered in this book. Part 1 is introduction to SolidWorks basic. Part 2 is building intelligence into your parts. Part 3 is working with assemblies. Part 4 is creating drawings. Part 5 is using specialized techniques and appendixes. Note, and you can contact the author through Wiley Publications. Part 1 Introduction SolidWorks Basics.